So today we're going to talk about asanas, which means poses good for spine health. The reason is there are not only physical health, but also mental health if we practice this regularly. So on the physical level, we have a lot of people have back aches, especially we work in front of computer all the time, sitting in the same chair, same pose for a long time. So that alone has a lot of harm did to our spine. And then the other part is if we work on this asanas, we can increase the strength and the flexibility of all the muscles around our spine, even though we cannot consciously control those muscles, but by strengthening them and giving them flexibility, it improves the spine health overall. And of course, it will stimulate the nerves and improve circulation around the spine and nourishing the spinal cords, which will go to our entire body as a whole. And on the mental benefit side, some of the asanas are promoting introversion, like the forward bend. It's also symbolizes humbleness and you know, the going inward. And the backward bend is opening the heart and opening your entire body. Also energetic, it can promote the extroversion. So by practicing the spinal forward bend and back bend, you can balancing the introversion and extroversion in the mental state of mind. And also the asanas, some of them are relaxation focused, some of them are energetic focused. So by practicing them, you can balance the energy of your own body between the relaxation and the energetic prana, which is the qi. And then, of course, the twisting, spinal twist, it gives you a systematic approach to untying what we call the knots in life. So it's very on the energetic level. So what are the poses we're going to learn? So there are forward bend, backward bend, and twist. So a few standing forward bend here, we're all pretty familiar. So these are very entry level. So we can do it easily at home, and there's no harm at all. But if you do have specific slipped discs, these really have to take into serious consideration. You need to consult your doctors, and especially when you practice, you have to monitor your own physical level of comfort. So there are three of them. The first one is like just head to toe, and then there's standing head between knees. So both of these can be practiced in a relaxed mode as well as in the energetic mode. So I'll guide through during our workshop. And then the third one you see, sometimes we call that humble warrior. So that's definitely a more energetic side because you need to hold yourself to get into that position. So normally the standing poses are more energetic poses. And then there's sitting poses. So standing poses, when you practice forward bend, there's counter pose, which we do backward bend. So that's why usually you do is one forward bend and then one backward bend to get your spine more lubricated. So the backward bend standing, including what you also familiar with, just raise arm over your head, And then there's also low lunge. So the picture here, half moon pose, it's in the classic text. It's called a half moon pose, which is different from what we call half moon pose in the vinyasa. So that is one difference in the the naming convention. And then the shoulder pose, and we call bridge pose in lots of flow classes. So these are three pretty easy level for the back bend for standing pose. And then we can move to the forward, the sitting side of forward bend and the backward bend. So sitting side, we have the half knee to head to knee pose. And this is very often in yoga classes, either in studio or now online. The third one, wide-legged stretch pose, it's a little more advanced in the way that you maybe you need to have optional ways of getting into the pose. So this is sitting forward bend, and then there's sitting back bend. So sitting means just on the mat. So the first one is Sphinx pose. It's a very common in very beginner level yoga classes because it's very easy. And it's also common in the yin yoga. You can just sit or stay in that pose for 5-6 minutes. And then there's the cobra or upward dog in the vinyasa class. That's more energetic level. Then the easy bow pose, it's definitely a lot of energy have to given into this pose. So that's the forward back bend, so back bend in the sitting. Then finally, we'll move to the twist poses. So twisting, there's also standing poses or sitting. So the twisting standing here, there are 3 poses I can introduce from easy to a little bit harder. So waist rotating pose when you're just standing. And then there's Trikonasana, which usually we call it triangle pose. Then when you do a revolve triangle, that is a twisting. And then the side angle, if you do revolve side angle, that also become a twisting pose. So these 3 are the standing on the mat, basically feet on the mat, it's twisting. Then finally, we move to sitting twist. So the sitting twist on the pictures here, there are 3. The first one is just a spinal twist crossing the leg on the over the thigh. It's one of the easiest twists you can do sitting. And the third one, it's a spiral knee to head. So it's a little more than just twist. It's also a side bend. So do you have any questions regarding all these poses?